Hey there, this is Dallin Seeker with Dallin Seeker Codes, and welcome back to the second episode in the series Building a DAW with C#. Again, we're going to be using the NAudio API and Windows Forms. All right, so in the last episode, we covered recording audio in the most fundamental way with the NAudio API. So we have this code here from what we did in the last episode, and today we're going to be covering playing back audio. So we're actually going to be grabbing that file that we have, the example recording that we did in the last episode, and we're going to be playing it back through the code here. All right, so playing back audio is going to be fairly simple. What you're going to need is a few NAudio classes, and most importantly, of course, you're going to need the file that you want to be playing back, including the path to that file. So if you remember in the last episode, we have this wave in variable here, and this is this type deals with input, and as I mentioned, wave out is going to be dealing with output, which is what we're doing today, playback. So we're going to create a wave out. All right, let's go ahead and create a method called play. And within this method, we're just going to want to go ahead and create a new instance of wave out. And just as we did with wave in, where we set the device number, we're going to want to again set the device number. Just set it to 0, which should be the default value for your device. Okay, so next we're going to want to go ahead and play that audio file we have on the desktop here. So let's go ahead and grab that. Ideally, you're going to have the path stored in a variable to this file that you've recorded, but we're just going to go ahead and call that path again because we know exactly what it is. So we're just going to copy this from what we did in the last tutorial. Go ahead and paste that here. Perfect. So we're going to want to initialize that path, the file that we have. So it's waveout.init. And if we put in file path here, we see that we get an error because it's actually not looking for a string. It's looking for an NAudio iWave provider. So in order to get that in the correct format, you could say we're going to want to use the audio file reader class. So if you remember in the last episode, we used this class called wave file writer to write the data that we had from recording to an actual wave file. So there is going to be a wave file reader class that reflects that wave file writer class, and we could use that. It would work perfectly fine, but we're going to be using the actually the audio file reader, and this is going to be universal, so it'll take any audio file, be it an MP3, a wave, whatever audio file you may pass into it that NAudio can read. All right, so we're going to want to create an instance of this audio file reader class. Just name this reader. There we go. Perfect. So we will actually want to pass a string into this audio file reader. So perfect, because we have the string pointing to our file right here that we have in this path. So we can go ahead and pass in that file path. So now what we can go ahead and do is go back to this waveout.initialize and throw in the reader. And that won't throw any errors. Perfect. So now all we need to do is waveout.play. And again, this ideally, this is a little messy. Ideally, this would be stored in a variable. All right, so now, of course, we just need to find a way to call this play method. So since we're using Windows Forms here, I'm just going to go ahead and find the most simple way to call this method here. So we're just going to make a constructor that will point right to the play method. And then when we launch the form, again, ignore everything else here. When we launch the form, we can just go ahead and create a single instance of example2, which will trigger this play method and should go ahead and play the audio file. This is a test recording with the code we just made. Perfect. So as you can see, it went ahead and played that file. And you could use this exact code to point to any file as long as you have the path in the string and you pass it through the audio file reader. And you also know how to record now from the last episode. So you can record and set up a system where you can store the path into variables or even an array of variables or a list and loop through that and play You could even play multiple audio files at once. All right, well, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This has been Dallin Seeger.